All righty, good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, which is titled 4 Secrets to Attract Top Talent and Drive 6x Performance. The webinar is presented by StartProto Inc., hosted by Metal Forming Magazine and the Precision Metal Forming Association. My name is Brad Coogan. I'm the editorial director of Metal Forming at PMA, and I'm pleased to serve as the moderator for today's webinar. Before we get started, just a few notes about the GoToMeeting session. The meeting is being recorded for archiving. The recorded event will be posted to our website within the next few days, and we'll let you know via email when that recorded event is available for viewing online. You can share it with others at your company, watch it again, what have you. Also, all participants in the meeting are in listen-only mode. That means that our speakers and other listeners cannot hear any audio from your site during the program. However, you do have the ability to communicate with us throughout the program by submitting any questions and comments you have using that question box, which is located on that right-hand control panel on your GoToMeeting screen. You'll simply type your question to an organizer as selected from that drop-down menu. Then you'll use that same question panel to ask any questions of our speakers at the end of the presentation. So now it's time to go ahead and begin the webinar, which is a case study on how RAM Precision Inc., which is a manufacturer of precision molds, dies, and specialty tooling for a variety of end-user industries. We're going to learn how RAM Precision made the jump to a completely paperless operation, and in doing so captured the valuable knowledge of its current workforce and made the company a highly attractive place for young and talented workers to start their careers. The changes also impacted their bottom line. By using the documentation and routing tools built into StartProto, RAM Precision has eliminated bottlenecks in its processes, cross-trained existing employees, and increased shop throughput. So our speakers with us this afternoon are Tim Felbinger. He is the founder and CEO of StartProto, as well as Rudy Balknecht, the owner of RAM Precision, who is joined by manufacturing engineer Cale Hammond. So without further ado, let's please welcome Tim Felbinger to get things started.
Cool. All right. Brad, can you confirm audio?
Yep, sounds good.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, so as Brad said, we're going to talk about how RAM with our system was able to, overcome a lot of their challenges with recruiting and ultimately drive a lot of meaningful metrics for their business. My name's Tim, and I'm joined today with Rudy and Cale from RAM Precision. And yeah, we're excited to kind of get into it. We started out with a free pilot in RAM's facility about a year ago, and they've been a pretty happy customer. Hopefully they can confirm that for you today, since August of last year. And yeah, we just want to share their story. So, okay, with that, I guess we'll kind of go into a quick intro if you guys want to kind of talk about what you do.
My name is Rudy. This is Cale next to me. I'm the owner, and Cale's the lead manufacturer for our shop here at RAM Precision. A little history on RAM Precision. We are a high precision tool and die shop in Pennsylvania. My father started the business in the 80s. I run it now. And over the last 35-ish years, we've evolved and grown into, we started in the electronics industry, providing molds and dies for various customers in America and across the world. And we kind of grown into the early 2000s. We really expanded our footprint in the medical industry. So those are the two main industries that we work with now, along with consumer products and some of the defense industry. So all this time we've had this business, our technology has changed over the years, and it's always new ways to do business, but we've never had a software system in place to address a lot of the issues along the way that we'll get into a little bit later in this presentation. But that's just a little background on what RAM Precision and what we do, and we're excited to talk to everyone here today about the good things that StartProto is doing for us.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess starting off, kind of before we kind of got in contact with you guys, what were the sort of problems you were seeing in your shop? How were you kind of running things before our system?
I think the biggest problem we had was just getting information, the correct drawings, or how things were done, how things were set up before, getting that out to the operators every time that job came back in through the shop. A lot of time we spent was on doing repetitive tasks like finding drawings and getting them to the people and them trying to figure out how to set it up again. So all the repetitive tasks get very tedious doing differently every time and not remembering all the details. Before StartProto, we were starting to do a lot with just Excel spreadsheets, trying to keep track of quantities, where things were, just how many parts we had that were available for this step or for the next step. And it got tedious just to keep up with the Excel documents. I mean, you're updating them multiple times a day. And then keeping up with the paper drawings or even trying to find drawings on the network, that takes a long time. That was taking a lot of my day. Just if a grinder needed a certain drawing, I had to go find it on the network, and sometimes that would take 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, no, when we first visited, we were quite shocked at how often you got interrupted throughout the day, and that seems to have gotten a lot better.
Definitely gotten better, yeah.
And the information, it's in our email, it's in Word documents, it's in our head, and that's been the last few years. When I was in the early 2000s, we kind of always had a similar workforce. We didn't have much turnaround, but we've had people retiring as the workforce ages. We had new people starting, and that knowledge was escaping. It's in people's heads. So it's what material do we use? What other outside vendors are we using? What's the instruction specifically for those outside vendors? All that information was lost. It was never retained and captured. It was in people's heads mostly. If we were lucky, we got it down in an Excel spreadsheet, or we go look in previous emails. But a lot of the information that was key to making these parts again and again and make them as good as we did the first time, a lot of times that information was just lost, and we would either repeat the same mistake or it would just take longer to make the part than it should have.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, we saw those same things. We're like, okay, this is something that we can definitely help with. So kind of going into it, what was kind of your experience with the implementation period like? I know you kind of had one goal and then eventually ended up just much surpassing that, right?
So when you guys came up in August, we had it up and running, somewhat of a beta version, I suppose. And our initial goal for me and Kale, like we instantly saw the value of it, that this was going to be a good tool. But there's what we want, and then is it going to be accepted and adopted on the shop floor? We have about 15 people here, and our first goal was me and Carol. We were going to have 2 people identified and one job. We'll just call them widgets that was going to monitor. That we were going to monitor with StartProto and see how this is going to work. We figured maybe in a couple months we'll put it out to the whole shop floor. But we noticed, so we started in late August. By early September, we noticed people were curious. They wanted to see what this was about. And within under 4 weeks, we had all employees on StartProto. And within that 4 weeks also, every job that was now going out the door and shipped to the customer was being monitored by and run through StartProto. And definitely within the first 6 to 8 weeks, all active jobs that we have in our shop, and we have different parts and different stages all throughout with hundreds of jobs currently active. Within the first 2 months, we had all jobs that we're currently working on in StartProto so we could monitor that whole process right away. So it was a lot. We thought it'd be months till we got everybody, multiple months, and within under 4 weeks, probably close to 2 weeks, we had everybody who had an account logged in and at least accessing their daily work through StartProto. So the onboard adoption was a lot quicker than we even expected. So that was a very nice benefit.
Yeah, I think we found out that, we would use Post-it notes to let people know what they needed to work on. And we found out that, writing it down on a Post-it note took about as long as putting it into StartProto, and then it was always in there. So the next time we need to use it, it's right there. So that's why we jumped in so quickly with it.
Yeah, and then what was sort of operator adoption like at the beginning? I mean, I know we even witnessed some of the older guys kind of looking at the young guys who had the tablets. Oh, I kind of want one of those. Like, what do you think sort of helped drive that adoption, and sort of how has it improved their workday?
I think everybody can see that they have all the information they need at their fingertips, especially the drawings. They don't come over and bug me about getting them a drawing anymore because it's right in front of them. They can just click on it and see it right on their tablet or on their computer. But they can also see more about what's going on in the shop. Am I making 10 parts because there's 8 that are on order? Or am I making 10 parts because there's 10 on order? And how can I manage my job to get them through so we can ship them? So I think these guys like the ownership of knowing more of what's going on, and it's right there. We don't have to, have meetings to tell people what's going on about every little detail.
And we have a wide range of ages, from co-ops that are 20 years old to veteran toolmakers that are over 60. So each one of them, from that whole range in between, it's been very well accepted, and it's on an iPad for them. Everyone knows how to use an iPad, so it's all web-based system, easy to add pictures and comments and feedback. So everything's been very good with adoption and acceptance from every age range that we have here.
Yeah, I know one of the things that's really helped drive a lot of value for you guys is the fact that everyone's able to sort of document their processes as they go. How do you think that sort of helped, or I guess share a couple of stories in that regard?
I would say that the big thing is there's operations that are new, or a part that's new. Maybe a person's new to an operation that we've done before, or maybe it's a job they haven't run in 2 years. And the word we always like to use is confidence. It gives them confidence that when they're going to hit green, hit the green button on the machine to hit go, that all right, it's going to achieve the goal that they're trying to do with making this part. You can say drill and tap this hole in this widget, but if they see a whole instruction sheet on what's involved with maybe some setup pictures, just drilling and tapping a hole is one thing, but what was the setup? What vise was used in it? What you can get down to the granular details of everything that was involved. Sure, people can take pictures with their phone, but that never gets put back into the feedback loop for the next time that they got to make these. The StartProto system captures all that real time. It gives them the ownership too, because it stamps that who put it in there and contributed to this process, so they know that they're helping Ram Precision get the parts out more efficiently than the way we were doing it before. So the confidence level is very big, especially when it's a job that either you haven't done before, you haven't done in a while. It can really help ease anxiety for the trainer, for the operator. That improves employee morale, so it doesn't stress them as much, as gives them more confidence that they're going to do a good job with when they got to run this particular operation.
Yeah, Kalen, I know you've done a lot of onboarding recently. How have you found kind of having that has been valuable?
That's been very valuable. I mean, we can line up work for the new people before they come in, and kind of get it off our mind and have it ready for them when they come in. But we can also have the good information on how to do these steps. So it's almost like a training document. Every time they're going through the step, they can read each step as they go. And as they get better at it, they don't have to worry about that. But then they're not asking us questions every 5 minutes, or worse yet, usually we have to stand by them and work with them for the whole day, just to make sure that we don't miss any of the details that they need to know. But with it being in front of them on the tablet and they can read what's going on, the setup pictures are probably one of the best things. It's really hard to explain a setup. I mean, you could write a whole paragraph on how to set something up, but you take a picture and it makes a lot more sense, especially to a new person. I mean, you could talk about, put the big block here, and they don't know what the big block is. So now you're describing that. So, the pictures along with the descriptions, especially for new people, has been really good.
Yeah, I know the other thing that you guys bring up again and again is kind of having an accurate view of where parts are in your production process. I guess talk some to how you would figure out where parts were before when a different order came in.
Yeah, that's a definite the visibility, definite advantage of StartProto, the visibility that this provides when an order comes in. Previously, it's all right. We're going to disrupt a lot of things, because I have to go to Kale, like, all right, we had this order in. Let's see if we have any in stock. Do we have any in stock? Again, we don't. We have some ad hoc systems we were using internally, but it's up to, they need a lot of updating manually every time. So, and if you skip one update, it's no good anymore. So we were always working with those internal systems, and they were okay, but never good enough. And so then I would have to ask Kale, where are we in inventory? All right, we don't have enough. So do we even have the material? Is it in process? And then I'm disrupting his day, it's disrupting my day. And so this happens on a weekly basis, if not almost every other day basis. It's not a good way to run a business long term, but it's just the way we had to do it to make sure to see where we're at. And then you got people counting parts all the time too. And then maybe they do not. Maybe it's a customer just questioning to what do we have in stock. But 3 months later they order, then we got to go back and see. Nobody remembers the part counts. So that was a lot of disruption and people running around trying to answer these questions, and then you got to remember where you were when I came in and interrupted their day. So there was a lot of non-visibility into where we're at with these parts. We have, as I mentioned, hundreds of different parts in process at any time, and then they're also in different operations at any time too. So we always want to make sure we had enough in stock, but sometimes enough material. But you might, therefore, I would overorder material just so I wouldn't ever be that far behind, just to help whatever I could do to eliminate bottlenecks and improve on our lead time. So maybe there was, inefficiencies I didn't even know about, but I was just doing it just because I needed that customer to stay happy.
Yeah, almost kind of just running. I mean, basically, it's the concept of hot jobs, right? And it seems like you've more or less eliminated that, and people can kind of just work it at their own pace, not make too many mistakes, and kind of cut down on that.
Is every job can't be a hot job, because then that's gonna add a lot of stress to Cal and I. We can handle it to a degree, but you have a lot of other people. You're putting unnecessary burden and stress on them that a system should be in place to handle that. And that's StartProto is the first one we found. We've looked at others, but this is the first one that was like a no doubt about it. If every job's a hot job, everybody gets stressed out and mistakes are going to get made, and you're going to have low employee morale. So this is where this has been great. Of now I can, when the order comes in, I can check, just go right to the browser. I can see where it was. And this has been evident. We've seen it in the last few weeks already, where it's like, hey, I told Cal, it's like, hey, I already know where everything is, and I just put it directly into one of our employees' queues so they could get it. They knew it was next on their list to do, and there was no sense of urgency, like over urgency required out in the shop, that everybody got disrupted. So within 1 minute, I could figure all that out, where before, if I was lucky, we would know within an hour, but sometimes it could take even more than that of a volatile disruption in the shop of messing up everybody's day.
And sometimes you don't even find those parts either. Probably a year ago, we had some parts that we rushed out to the heat treater, and after the job shipped, we were looking for something else, and there was a box of parts that was already heat treated, so we didn't need to go through the fire drill.
Yeah, that happens more than it should too, but yes, that's happened.
Yeah, I'm glad that's done now. So, because all the stress to get that stuff done quickly, and then you find a box with twice as many as you needed, and that all could have been eliminated. But I'm glad we're past that.
Yeah, now you can just see it immediately. But yeah, I know there's a large part of the title is about recruiting. So I know you guys have had a lot of positions open recently, and that's kind of what prompted us to do this webinar, because we thought it was really interesting, kind of the additional success you were having because of having more time or whatever else it is. But can you kind of talk about what it's been like to recruit people and show them kind of the system that you guys have in place?
Yeah, the StartProto has worked out real well. We've had some open positions the last few months, and it's been a great tool when we've had both from a CNC operator and skilled machinist position to a shipping coordinator to engineering positions. We always show them StartProto of how we use this system to monitor all of our work process and all of our jobs as they flow throughout the shop. Try to give a sense of we have things under control here. It's not every job's a hot job. We have information. We have all of it available. So in case they can't find us, sure, if they have questions, that's fine. But this has been a good recruiting tool when applicants come through. And really good timing for this webinar is this week alone, we hired 3 people, all starting on the same day on Monday. I never had that luxury before. I could never start more than 1 person at one time. And on Monday, Cal and I felt really confident, just because when you start somebody new, you need somebody tailing them, usually at all times in the beginning. And that's why we can only do 1 person at one time. Another benefit we have is we partner with Drexel University here. We've been using their co-op program for the last few years. We get a mechanical engineer that comes in for 6 months, and they do a lot of design. They learn design work through us, design for manufacturing, building drawings, assemblies, and models in SolidWorks. And because of StartProto, we only took 1 co-op. On Monday, we took 2 co-ops. That's the first time we were able to do that. Again, another luxury that we never could have done without StartProto. And then also for Kale and I, to be able to take an hour and a half out for this video on the first week that they start also would have been unheard of. So that's why we set up in the queue and StartProto. We don't have to write post-it notes. Normally it would have been a bunch of post-it notes. Go to this, this, and this. If you get stuck in this, go to that. You know, we would have had to waste a lot of time with that, but now we just put in StartProto, and that's really helped with finding new people. And then also when they start this first week, especially 3 on one day is a lot for us, and it's been working out very well. So it's been a very good tool to help make that a more seamless transition for them to make them. Normally for a grinder or a tool maker, it takes 4 to 6 months for them to be productive. And I even noted to Cal today, the new person we have in that role already is doing a productive job for us on day 4. That's awesome. That's something that we normally wouldn't have to be able to do before StartProto.
Yeah, Kayla, I know you've kind of spent some time in the last, kind of preparing for this, queuing up work for them and kind of, running them through those jobs. I know, you mentioned it earlier, kind of normally you'd have to ride shotgun and really be there with them, but now you said you've been able to offload a lot of that, right?
Yeah, so, I work a lot with the design engineers that come in because we have a process of how we do our drawings. We do them a particular way for a special reason. And to document all that, every time they have to do a new drawing, they go through these detailed instructions. And I no longer have to remember, oh yeah, don't forget to do this, or don't forget this on this drawing or this type of drawing. So we've already seen it this week, with 2 co-ops in here. I was a little worried about that, but like Rudy said, it's going very smoothly. They have all their instructions. They're kind of training themselves by reading through and learning about our processes by going through and actually, getting work done for us too. So it's been a lot better for us. And like Rudy said, I would have been very nervous about doing anything for half an hour, let alone an hour and a half webinar, if we didn't have a system in place, especially StartProto.
Yeah, so that's good to hear. We always love kind of hearing how much time we've freed up for you guys. I know, Kale, some of the stats you had told me, I think yesterday, you said usually you get interrupted, 20 times a day, and now it's, 2 maybe, right? And then
3 times a day, a little bit more this week because we have new people, but I'm not getting all the drawing requests and, hey, do you remember how we did this last time? Or, what's the next step on this part? I'm done with it. Where does it go next? All these answers are in StartProto. We've answered them, but they're in there permanently, so somebody can look at them and know where to go next.
Yeah, then Rudy, I know you for a lot of the processes kind of acted almost in a routing capacity, but now that you're not doing that, you said you've spent a lot more time being able to actually find a lot of those, better recruits, right? Kind of how has that changed for you?
Yeah, as you said, right, I was the routing system before. So
A very stressful job with hundreds of components, yeah.
Who's doing what and lining everybody up. And then if I'm gone for a 4-day weekend, I got to post-it note everybody what their jobs are and give Cal a list of things to do. And if there's questions asked and if we run into stumbling blocks, and that was the whole day. And then the only way so we've been looking for new talent since the COVID times, probably the last 2 years. And that doesn't happen from our normal shop hours. It happens, I only get to look, it's either after work or weekends, when I'm not here. So it was, it takes time. We have a specialized skill sets for what we look for. We have this EDM department and a grinding, and it's just, you won't find it easily on an Indeed or ZipRecruiter. You kind of have to dig around and network and keep looking, which takes time. And with StartProto, now that frees up, I don't have to worry about routing. I know our shipping person, we send the same part. It goes to 4 different places, of which all 4 have different requirements of how it gets there. I never had faith before that it was going to get there without me double confirming that it was all good according to what I expected. Now with StartProto, I don't have, that's a burden lifted off of me as much as time and stress. So now I can have the time where I can dedicate, all right, I can spend an hour in the morning, vetting someone to see if they would have could be a possible good fit for us here at Ram Precision. That's how we found a recent grinding person, which is not the easiest skill set to find in general. So that takes some time and effort. And you can either do it at night or on the weekends, which you will do, but this allows to free some of that up so I can do it during the shop hours, and the shop still efficiently keeps running because of StartProto.
Yeah, and I know both of you have been able to go to different career fairs and stuff like that as well, even during shop hours, correct?
Yeah, we've been to 2 trade college career fairs, and that's a good place to meet people and show them what we can do.
And we both get to go too.
Yeah,
Nice.
we never both get to go anywhere.
Yeah, when was the last time that happened?
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even when Rudy's not here, I was going to say that the shipping, he says it goes to 4 different places. I get very anxious when I have to help with the shipping because it's a lot of details to remember. And now if I could just look and see what it is, it's not a big deal. In fact, the new shipping guy can take care of it without any help either. So that's taken a lot of stress off of us.
Cool. I know the other kind of part of the title here is 6x performance, which is, it sounds catchy and all, but it is actually true, right? We were sort of amazed at the numbers you guys showed us on one of your main production parts. Can you kind of go through what that looked like and how you think you were able to achieve it?
Sure. Yeah, this was the pilot that we wanted to go through because we were having some issues with getting parts out on time. And again, Rudy was the router. He was routing this job through, this widget through, and there's different iterations of the widget. So you have to know which one you need to make and when it's due. So we would just batch everything, run this operation for the next week or 2 weeks. And then, maybe 2.5 weeks later, you remember to push them to the next operation. And it wound up making us late on almost every order.
Yeah, everything but the last one, right?
Yeah, you try to hit in that batch, you try to hit the last due date. And I mean, I think at least this year, if not a little bit last year, we've been either on time or early with all of our deliveries now. And most of that is because the operators can see the orders that are coming in. They can see what operations need to be done today, and they can work towards the goal of shipping that shipment on time. And they're not just doing a task for 2 weeks until somebody tells them to do something else. And we can easily be more efficient that way too. They can work on something, set up, run a whole day, and then go to the next task. And instead of having multiple setups a day or just waiting longer to get things done. And that's where we've cut out a lot of the time, just batching things properly.
Yeah, and then your lead time has also gone down with that, right? From, I forget the exact numbers if you want to share.
10 weeks for first quarter 2022, all the orders we had for them, we were on time, and they're ordering more than they ever have previously. And where that started was I gave them, I told them it was 10 weeks for these widgets. They choose to sometimes speed up that delivery to 6 weeks. And this was like in December, and that's when Cal and I were like, well, not gonna say anything, let's try it. And that's when we were able to take that down from 10, and we hit all those times at 6 weeks. And as Cal was mentioning before, if I have 2,000 of them to make, they would order batches of 100 staggered every 4 weeks. I would I'd be 5 installments down. I would have to make so many at one time. That's the only one I was shooting for. I would miss the deliveries on all the 4 before that. So now we were able to actually hit every staggered delivery, and we're being more efficient internally as well. That's the great part. It works on both ends. We're delivering on time to the customer, plus also being more efficient internally because the software is counting all the parts. There's hundreds of thousands of parts with many different operations, of which part counting is now done by the software. It's not done by the operator, and the operator gets tired of counting. The operator can miscount. So all that is now off of their plate, and now they can focus on just doing what they need to do to make a good part. They don't have to worry about the administrative part of it.
Right, so there's a lot less they have to keep in their head, right? And I know one of the things you said too is you've been seeing a lot more collaboration between departments just because everyone knows what your customers' requirements and goals are, and they're kind of able to, work together effectively. How have you kind of seen that play out?
Everybody can see the next task and the previous tasks in there. And there's been a few instances very recently that we've redone the order of operations just because it makes more sense. Before, the grinding guy may not see what the wire EDM department's doing to that part, and then it came back to them later, and we could combine some operations. And with having the visibility of the entire operation in everybody's hands, they can put their input into making that a little bit better.
Yeah, and if one person was making the part through all the different departments, piece of cake. But we need that collaboration between multi-departments. And previously, it was me with the part and the print, and because I need to convince the person in the grinding department why the EDM department needs this, and why the person way upstream in the milling department, there's a reason why we have a tight tolerance there, and we don't want that tolerance to slack off. So now that all that information is visible to each particular person, that's a value it's hard to measure. That's a very valuable tool to have. So everyone sees why we're answering the whys. Why do I have to do it this way? Why do I have to make every part like this? Well, here's why: because there's downstream operations that you are not going to do, but that are required, that it needs this particular tight tolerance or precision in that part.
Yeah, a lot of our parts have many operations too, and just that widget we were talking about, there's probably 15 to 20 different operations on that. So, it's not like come in the door, do something to it, and ship it. That's relatively easy. But when you have 15 steps, 20 steps, it's very hard to keep track of it, passing back and forth between departments. So being able to see that is very helpful.
Yeah, and to your point, a lot of the kind of improvements in your jobs you've been seeing have been more or less operator driven, right? Operators telling you like, hey, why don't we X, Y, Z, right? Could you go through maybe an example of something like that?
Yeah, I think everybody, it's definitely each person has offered something in our grinding department. We can even start. This is how also the ease of use factor. I'll put in what I recall is, like, let's say there's 3 steps to this operation, but they know, it'd be good if this one step went ahead of the other, and we need 2 more. And just like that, I didn't even know they were doing it. I went to check on that job, and there was 5 operations in there. I thought there were only 3, and it was reordered. So I had nothing to do with it. They were able to do it on their own and add in that necessary information, and that improved the whole process as well, because they see, all right, he wanted to make it a downstream operation was in our EDM department. He wanted to make it easier for someone down there, so when they get it, it has the appropriate notes and processes in place to explain what they expect back, because maybe it comes back to that grinding department, but why they're doing what they're doing. So they can explain why they're doing what they're doing, so when it gets to that next operation, they can see, all right, yes, I do need to maintain this, so we can make it easier for the next guy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in a lot of shops, and you'll talk to different machinists, and they'll be like, well, like, I do this, but it really will be better if blah, 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 right? And
Right.
For you guys, we've actually been able to just enable that and let people change, change how they do things on the fly, or, I know some shops aren't able to do that. So there's a whole comment and suggestion approval process built into our system as well, that kind of lets you actually sit down and think about the job and how you're making it.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's big too, because you're thinking about it right then and there. And if you can put your idea down and it goes up to the cloud and you never have to think about it again, and then Rudy and I can review it later. There's a lot of ideas that have just fizzled and died because they didn't get written down or didn't have enough information to them, which is more likely the case. I have a note on a drawing, and 2 weeks later, I can't remember what that note was all about and how we can make that change so the change never happens.
Yeah.
And previously, it was when a job would, and say it's a tougher job, we do a lot of custom prototype work too, but we might not do it in 2 years. There was never a closure, like a feedback loop of lessons learned. It was maybe something was written on the print, but then that, who knows, nobody knows what that means out of context. We see with this software, that's a huge value of, especially a job that we might not get for another year or 2, of closing that loop. That doesn't happen. There's no feedback system we didn't have any feedback system here because you're just on to the next job. Like, we'll remember, we'll worry about it later. You won't remember, and you'll worry even more about it later, because it's like, oh shoot, do you remember? Do you remember? You go around, do you remember? Nobody does. So, but now you don't have to remember. That's the beautiful thing about it is you just jot all the notes down you can. You can't jot too much. Take as many pictures as possible and put it all down there. So we have all the referencing information, and we've already seen the value of that for some jobs that we did. That one gripper, the stainless steel, it's just, it had a lot, it bounced between a lot of different machines, people, departments, and it was a part with a 1/1000th tolerance. So communication was key. And all that was just verbal. If it's all just verbal, it's all going to be forgotten. But it allowed us to capture all that verbal communication specifically to that part. So we're going to have it for next time and be able to make the same part in a quicker time period and just as good as the customer expects.
And I've worked where they've had other systems, and I mean, there was a pile of papers with notes on them that needed to get updated into that system. And you know that's never happening because that pile gets bigger faster than you can get those tasks done because you have other things to do. You don't have somebody dedicated to doing that. So having these guys just put their notes right in and being able to review it when you have time to do it and importing it in pretty easily is good.
Yeah, plus now you guys kind of have a single source of truth for everything and know everything's up to date, right? You guys are, if I'm not mistaken, almost completely paperless at this point, right? Versus previously you were 100% paper, right?
Yes, I hate paper, so I love that part of it. You know, just the drawings, not printing them out. The handwritten notes on drawings, we don't have that. You know, it's all put in. And once those comments are in there, they're visible to everybody instantly. So there's really no need to have any paper floating around the shop. It just clutters up desks and it confuses things when you have more than one of the same drawing with different notes on it. So having everything centrally located, all up to date is the best.
Yeah, the paperless that's been a utopian dream for 20 years. Cal's been bugging me since he's been here, and this is the first time I've actually seen, oh man, this works. And we might have a drawing, but it goes through 4 departments. I got 4 versions of this drawing now. So, and they're all a little bit different. And how do they get transferred? Where do they get stored? We got folders all over the place, binders of each particular department's version of a drawing that they need to make that part. And now all that's just vanished. It's pretty amazing how we can just all access it through StartProto, the data that we need to make the parts.
Yeah, how many workarounds / Excel sheets do you think the system replaced for you guys?
At least 10 to 15 binders and at least 20 Excel spreadsheets. So
At least. And a lot of those Excel spreadsheets were interlaced with each other, trying to work together.
all manually updated, manually
yes.
updated.
And that's the problem. One person doesn't do it and it's over.
Right.
You have these tiny little widgets. You think there's 30 in the little tube, and you go to ship them and there's only 20 and the orders for 25. That's a problem. Now you start all over. So yeah, not counting things 100 times is good.
Yeah, and then obviously our system is fully cloud-based, right? I know you guys were somewhat skeptical of that at first, but kind of how have you found that to, work out for you?
All right, I'll admit I was the one that was the most skeptical about the cloud-based. Yeah, I really wanted it network-based, but the cloud-based is awesome. It's seamless. Like I said, you put a comment in there and everybody in the shop can see it instantly. So that makes it nice. And, we don't have to worry about playing with the network to make it work. So, and then also, sometimes if I'm thinking about something, I can go in on my phone at home and, put in some notes or fix something that I thought about and don't have to worry about logging into a VPN or anything to get to it. So yeah, it's definitely convenient on the cloud, and I've changed my mind about wanting on the network.
And we had it previously we had all the drawings and models, documents, spreadsheets all on the server. And anyone that's not on that server and you try to do a Windows Explorer search for those files, it can be brutal. And whether it finds it, it takes forever. As mentioned, we get spoiled with Google search where everything shows up in a second, nothing shows up. And then Cal, he'll search, he doesn't know where it is, he searches for it. as it goes, you see the slowly buffering bar, and then somebody taps him on the shoulder, and he goes does something else and forgets what he's even searching for. So it's really helped eliminate that he can just, I'll go to StartProto, I'll look for this job number, and oop, there it is. There's all the information I need.
Yeah, the search is awesome.
Yeah.
It's yeah, you can't overstate how slow the Windows search is. That's where I spent most of my time searching for drawings, was waiting for the search to happen, or digging through the folders, because sometimes that was a little bit faster. But you know, I could just type in a few numbers and get what I need now. Actually,
Yeah,
they do it themselves, which is even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the engineering team's not going to love that I put this stat out publicly, but they have a goal to hit under 100 millisecond response time on every page, and I think for the most part we're actually, moving pretty quickly towards that. So definitely super snappy and kind of making sure that you have everything exactly when you need it.
I've been testing a little bit of our grinding guys. They're the ones that are over 60, and they grew up obviously with a paper in a hand, drawing in their hand at all times, and I've given them some jobs with just the barcode, StartProto barcode and parts, and I looked like 20, 30 minutes later, he's got a print on it. We encourage you can still print out, but he went to StartProto, he found the print, and he printed it out to the printer. Like, yeah, good, that's what it's meant to be. I didn't have to give them a print, and they know that like, as soon as they're done, that print can go in the trash, but it still gives them the ability to use a print, but it's not like, I don't care what happens to that print is the great thing. I don't have to save it. They know any information, any markups, comments, just go right into StartProto. But before I used to get nervous, it's like, is that print going to get back to me? Is that print going to get back to me? I got to put it in the binder. I got to put it in this folder. It's got to go in the wire. It's got to go in the grinding folder. It's got to go in the wire EDM, sinker EDM, all the different departments. And all that's just been lifted. It'll be nice to have a fire with all of them at some point. But right now, it's been great to test the system out. That I've been surprised how well people have been like, not asking for prints anymore. I'm really surprised how well that's been going.
Cool. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to share? I mean, that's pretty much the end of the questions I had for you, but I'm sure we'll get some from the audience as well. But if there's anything you want to share, this would be a good time to do it.
I just say in general, I've been very pleasantly surprised and satisfied with from when we first implemented the beta version in August. The system has worked. The architecture is good. We've logged in and it's always worked. That's been great. Your team has been awesome to work with. You've answered our questions. You're timely. We have no complaints about that. And it's definitely been, it sounded good. I've heard, as I said, paperless drawings have been a utopia for 20 years. You hear all these wonderful marketing buzzwords and materials, but you guys actually came through and delivered. From a management perspective, it's been great, but then you have to have it implemented and working on the shop floor. You need adoption, and the adoption's been great because everyone knows how to use their phone, use an iPad. It's the same concept, right? Anybody can swipe up, swipe down, and then touch on the picture, blow it up, look at it. You can look at specific details. The adoption has been great from a management perspective, and as I mentioned, it's not only getting our parts out faster, but it's the knowledge we're capturing from our day-to-day operations. That was also more than we expected. Everyone's being able to input more, and that's been the greatest tool about it. That I don't have to manually update all these different silos of emails and Word docs and Excel spreadsheets and whatever else we were using. So from a higher end perspective, or top level perspective, it's been a very good tool from a management end of making sure that all the parts are going out and having the priority list for each particular operator. It's been a very good tool to do what we need here.
And I think it's very easy to capture things too. So there's never I don't have time to make this document with the pictures and put all that in. It's just done. It's that easy. By the time you talk about it, you can have it done. So.
Yeah, like a routing sheet, like work routing sheet would say, hey, drill and tap a 2mm hole here, and okay, but that's easy enough just to say it on a piece of paper. But if you had, the vise that you use and the parallels and the tooling and the program and the stops, and that's all the information that you don't think about. You also have all that right there at your fingertip to look at. That's really where the power is of the software.
It definitely keeps us organized.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, with that, I guess I'd like to just sort of wrap up and kind of summarize. I mean, basically what you guys have told us, and basically if if the listeners or audience members of the webinar want to kind of achieve some of these same things, I think, you know, trying to deliver as much ownership and pride for each employee is massive, right? Making sure everyone's kind of working towards the same goal, and with that, really encouraging collaboration so that employees can come in and feel like they're a part of the team and working towards, working towards the goal of the shop, and knowing that when they come in every day, they're going to work on the right thing. And then, the third, I know probably if there's any shop owners listening, eliminating hot jobs, I think is massive, for everyone, right? Employees can just focus on what they do their best work, and know that everything else is kind of taken care of for them. And then the fourth thing, right, is now that we've freed up your time, you've been able to, actually allocate the appropriate amount of time for recruiting. I know we had a good amount of HR people sign up, and so they're probably very, very happy to hear that we're telling you, if you want better recruits, spend more time recruiting, right? But I think it's important to kind of have the owners be a part of that as well, and working on their business as opposed to just in the day to day. Yeah, and with that, I guess I kind of just share, like, the goal of StartProto is ultimately to make an impact in businesses that have truly been underserved. Our perspective is that manufacturing software should be genuinely enjoyable to use, and that this type of technology can really make a difference in your manufacturing business. And obviously it affects the bottom line, but today employees, much like ourselves, that the younger generation is expecting more and more from their employers. And if you're lagging behind in the technology segment and kind of not making their day the best it can be, you're really going to miss out on a lot of those talent opportunities. Obviously, we're really proud of the results that Ram Precision has achieved. And with that, obviously our pilot program slots are quickly filling up. So if anyone wants to learn more and possibly join that and kind of have the same experience they've had, we'd love to get in touch. Here's our contact information. And with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Excellent. Thanks everybody for a really, really good presentation, very detailed. We appreciate that. We do have some questions from the audience, and we got about 10 minutes left or so on our scheduled webinar here. So if anybody wants to jump in and ask these guys some questions. The first question we have for the folks at Ram Precision, or for you, Tim, as well, is there something in the workflow when your people are making changes to the processes to ensure that the changes they make or describe are reasonable and approved before they're implemented? What's in the workflow to handle change?
Yeah, I can kind of take the top end of this, and then you guys can jump in. Yeah, basically the way it works is employees kind of provide suggestions of process changes, and then those kind of end up in a queue for the managers to then kind of approve and add to the workflow. Yeah, you guys can talk about how that's been for you.
Yeah, it's a work order approval that we go through, and we can go down and they can tag their comments, so we can see where their comments need to go in or where they want their comments to go in. And that way we can look at them and see if it's relevant or not, or if it's something that's going to take more, we can change other operations as well too. But yeah, we have that approval process where we can decide to put that in or not. And then, like Rudy said before, when we put it in there, that the person who made that comment gets credit for putting that comment in, which is good because they get to see their initials on that operation the next time around.
Yeah, we're working on a leaderboard for that too, which should be really fun.
And it's like an 18-step operation. It also pins it directly to step 14. So we don't just see, I don't know which one of these 18 it is. It gets very specific if it wanted to. So it's a nice tool that to be able to approve it specifically for that job.
Cool. Excellent. So how long have you had this system, Rudy, and what's the ROI look like? How are you calculating ROI? What are some of the key variables that you're looking at?
We started in September, early September, so a little over 6 months, I suppose. And his ROI is a little difficult for us to do because the way before was cumbersome, and we have a part price. We kind of, our main widget, we'll call it, that we put out the door. That's where we went from 10 weeks to 6 weeks. And I gave Tim some numbers. I don't have them offhand of the ability of us to be able to put these parts out in a much quicker timeline. Has been great. As I said, first quarter 2022, we made every delivery. Never been able to do that before for a bigger surge of parts.
Yeah, I mean, I think the numbers you guys gave me on that part was you delivered 6 times the amount during the quarter after you had our system versus the one before. And then like your overall throughput numbers were somewhere around 35% for the entire shop.
Apple to apples on the same widgets, same time frame, that we were able to improve our throughput here.
And all that with being much more calm and collected and having time to do other things, right?
It's almost like having another employee routing the jobs around the shop. So, I mean, you can factor that into it as well.
Yeah, before it basically didn't have the greatest understanding of where are my pain. I understood the pain points, but like I didn't see all the inefficiencies necessarily. It's just get the part out the door because we didn't have a feedback loop. We didn't have all that information. Now we see it and we can improve on it and get better performance for how we're getting our parts out.
Good, thank you. Obviously, a hot topic these days is data security, especially when you're in the cloud. Is that something that you've been concerned with? Is there something that you've been doing to protect yourself from hacks?
I don't know. Leave that to you, Tim.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I can go for it.
Yeah, Cal was definitely that was his #1 concern from the beginning. So
I'm definitely not worried about it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, right, we'll get somewhat philosophical, right? But with modern software, you can basically end up using the best tool for every job, right? So we don't write our own login system. We just use the best login system out there, which is the same login system used by, Netflix, Amazon, Google, like they're all the same, right? So you have top end security for pretty much every web app we're building, and we're taking that approach as well. I think we're rolling out multi-factor authentication soon, and it's certainly a lot more secure than most people's server in the closet, right? I know
Sure.
I've walked into some manufacturing facilities, their servers right underneath the fire like sprinkler system, right? So we're definitely, we back up everything, and the system's super secure to get into. So you can access it anywhere in the world and know your data is going to be safe.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. All right, any more questions from our attendees? This is not so much a question, but just a suggestion or a recommendation. One of our attendees was kind enough to offer this resource for any manufacturers out there, RAM Precision included. If you're looking to connect with community college students, one of our attendees recommends the website. It's www.joinhandshake.com. I've never heard of it, but while you guys were talking, I did look it up, and it looks like a nice resource where community college students can connect with employers. So
yeah, actually, all sorts of students. We've used it some for our own internal recruiting, and it's been pretty good. So yeah.
Thank you to our attendee for suggesting that. Okay, well, I don't think we have any more questions. So again, I want to thank Tim and especially Rudy and Kale for sharing their story. Thank you for that really outstanding detailed presentation. And of course, to our audience, thank you for attending the program. We hope everyone found it to be valuable. Again, an archive of the webinar will be available up on our website within the next day or two. And when it's ready, we'll send everybody an email with a link to access the presentation. You'll be able to review it again and share it with others within the organization. So again, thanks everybody. Please have a wonderful and safe rest of your day.
Cool. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
I guess so.